A bunch of snakes somehow rushed into the women's bathhouse. The women inside screamed and ran out. Annie, who had just been enjoying a massage, was already covered in snake bites. I grabbed my daughter and ran toward the exit. But once we got out, the men next door were also running in panic, because something even worse showed up in the men's bathhouse. I had no choice but to run back with my daughter. Then I hid inside a metal locker. But a snake quickly crawled in through the vents. I panicked and shoved the locker door open. That finally flung the snake out. But the whole place was packed with snakes and we couldn't escape. So I tipped over a locker nearby, trying to clear out a path. But the snake's screams drew in a huge one. Right when it was about to swallow my daughter, I grabbed a broom and charged. I managed to draw its attention away. Luckily, it lunged too hard and ended up hanging on a big ceiling fan. I rushed over and turned the fan on. Using the spinning blades, my daughter and I finally escaped. Meanwhile, Jack watched the chaos on the monitors, but he looked completely calm, because he was the one who brought the snakes here. A few days ago, they poured human blood around the factory to lure pythons to come feed, but they never expected that this time a vicious, two-headed python would come instead. Jack heard the noise and rushed to chase it, but the python slid through the pipes, chasing after the people who had just escaped the bathhouse. It swallowed a woman whole, and I got knocked out by its tail. To save me, my daughter shot the python with a slingshot, so the two-headed python went after her instead. When I woke up, both my daughter and the python were gone. I was ready to run after her, but Jack suddenly stopped me. Then he pretended to be kind and offered to help, saying he knew the two-headed python very well. He pulled up the surveillance footage and saw the python chasing Joe into an abandoned yard nearby. So after grabbing some tools, I followed the guys over there. But as soon as we arrived, a python shot out and bit George's leg. He pulled out a hammer to kill it, but Tony kicked the hammer away. Then Tony swung an iron bar and smashed George's ankle. The python slipped away. Tony promised George that he'd make it up to him once they caught the two-headed python. Turns out Jack and Tony weren't there to save my daughter. They wanted to use me as bait, but I still didn't know that. I just kept calling my daughter's name. Only a worker showed up in response. I quickly asked if he'd seen her. He pointed me toward where she went, but right then a huge python appeared. It chased after me and drove John and me into a corner, slamming against the iron gate in front of us. When I saw it coil up from the impact, I pulled the chain over the gate and locked it shut. I thought we'd finally be safe, but the python lifted its body and climbed over the gate with ease.